Hello there, in this video we are discussing how much does it even cost to get started in a coaching business. Now you may be a life coach, you may be a business coach, you may be a health coach, a spiritual coach. Despite the kind of coaching that you do, what I'm going to cover is some of the fundamental things that you're going to need that will help you get set up in your coaching business. One of the reasons why I wanted to create this video is because I know a lot of you are at a stage where you really want to get started with your coaching business, but you are financially unsure if this is the right time, if you have the right investment, if you have the right tools. What I'm going to walk you through in this video is I'm going to give you the 4 categories that you need to consider when you're about to start your coaching business. I will also show you exactly what are some of the elements to consider and what are some of those expenses that may not be incurred immediately but will come up in time when you start your business and you're starting to generate revenue. Because there's going to be a lot of fine details that we'll talk about in this video, I've created a sheet for you that I will give you the link of towards the end of the video, where you will be able to download all of the things that I talk about and be able to see associated costs to those areas. So you don't have to aggressively take notes as you're watching this video. You just wait till the end of the video. You will see a link to the sheet that will help you have a clear picture and an easy access to all the details that I will talk about in this video. Now, before we get into the details of the cost of creating a coaching business, you need to first identify what's the model, what's the business model that you're going for in your coaching business. I'm going to work with the 2 most common models that people tend to use. Model number 1 is where you interact with your audience mostly one-on-one or in a group setting, and your client attraction strategies or your client strategies are more focused towards one-on-one interaction. You're finding your clients one at a time. This is a great model, especially if you're a business coach, if you're an executive coach, a leadership coach. Another strong and very popular business model is where you create an online course to get your clients started to work with you. These online courses are delivered in a group live setting format, so you can coach your clients, but in a very large group settings. So before even you start looking at the details of the different cost centers for a business, you need to consider looking at which business model you're going to pick, because your costs will vary based on the business model that you pick. Now let's talk about the details. What are some of the areas that you need to consider to be able to understand your total cost of starting a coaching business? For the ease of understanding, I've divided all of the items across 4 categories: technology, training, tools, and talent. I've divided all of the items across these 4 categories because these 4 categories are the ones that you will focus on when you're just getting started. First category is technology. And the first item in your technology would be a domain name that you may want to get. Now, if you are somebody who is relying a lot on one-on-one interactions to enroll your clients, you can skip the part of domain purchase. The reason is because when you're interacting with people one-on-one personally, a lot of times you can create the clients that you want and enroll the clients that you want even without having a website. That's how I started. I relied a lot on interactions with people, and because of that, I didn't need a domain and a fancy website for me to start getting my first few clients. In time, you will need this website though. You can buy a domain at namecheap.com for anywhere between $9 to $20, depending on the kind of URL that you're buying. So that's your first item on the list of technology, is to get a domain name. Now, when you get a domain name, it would be the right thing to do as a professional to get something that is called a G Suite. A G Suite is simply where you are able to get an email address that is not your name at gmail.com, but more like your name at yourdomain.com. An example would be our email address for you to reach out with questions to us is support@evercoach.com. This way, it's a professional email address, very easy to remember and give away. This is something that you will want to get. A G Suite costs about $15 a month for one email address. Once you start coaching, you will need a platform to be able to interact with your clients. At the time we are recording this, most coaching has moved online, which means you want an online platform where you can coach your clients, do enrollment conversations, and stay engaged with your group. This can be done through a platform called Zoom. We personally use Zoom for all of our services that we deliver to all of our clients. It's widely used and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. The basic account of Zoom, which is all that you're going to need, is about $149 a year. Now, you can use a free version of Zoom, but it has time limitations, which means while you're interacting with your client, you may just run out of time and Zoom may shut down on you. You wouldn't want that. So get a simple account. It's only $149 a year. Go ahead and get that. It removes the time limitation and it's easier to interact virtually with your clients and even with groups. The next piece of software that you're going to need is something that allows you to get signatures from your clients on the contracts that you sign with them. Now, when you get started, you may not sign complicated contracts and they might just be one-pagers, or you may not sign contracts at all, so you will skip this step. But it is advised that you have some basic contract being signed between you and your client. You can get that done using many very simple softwares. One of them is DocuSign. Another one is called HelloSign. This piece of software will cost you about $129 a year, which is about $10 a month. Now, if you don't want to get HelloSign or DocuSign and you're ready for something that's slightly more expensive and does a lot more things, I invite you to look at something that is called Paperbell. Paperbell is developed by my friend Laura Roeder, who created the software specifically for coaches so they can have all of the tools that they need within the same software. This software allows you to schedule stuff, it allows you to get documents, it allows you to manage your relationship with your clients. It does a lot of things. You can check it out at paperbell.com. It's a slightly expensive software. It costs about $49 a month. A lot of coaching is done one-on-one or in groups, which means a lot of scheduling is required to have enrollment conversations or coaching conversations. Now you can again go ahead and schedule meetings by doing back and forth with your clients over email. You don't need a software for it. But if you're ready to professionalize a little bit and make it a little bit easier for you to schedule things, go ahead and look at Calendly.com. Calendly is a simple scheduling software that will cost you about $8 a month. Now comes the more interesting piece. Remember I said there are two types of models that you could go for? One was more one-on-one based, one to group based, and you would be interacting one-on-one. You saw that there's not a lot of technological investment that is required when you are doing that kind of coaching. Your biggest investment there may be your domain, your G Suite, and the Zoom account. The rest you can probably manage through email and conversation as you are setting up your business. Online courses need more softwares to be able to really deliver the program, be able to enroll people into the program, to be able to engage with people while they're going through the program. First software that you will want to consider is something that helps you put up a course online so people can enroll in it and can take the course at the pace you want them to take the course. While there are many softwares that allow you to do this, my personal favorite is Teachable. Teachable not only has a training module, it also helps you manage your coaching, which is why I like that platform because it integrates coaching and training together on a singular platform. You can get Teachable for about $350 a year, and they will on top of that charge about 5% of any fee that you charge to your clients. So it may seem like an expensive proposition, but in the marketplace, it is one of the propositions that are not that expensive and are easy to set up. When you're selling online courses, you're going to want to build something that is called an email database, a subscriber list, if you may. The reason why you want to build this is the only way you can create a profitable online education course-based model is by having a lot of students in it, a lot of coachees in it. And because of that, you would want to build out a reasonably sized email subscriber database. Now, when I say a reasonable data size, it may be 50 people, maybe 5,000 people, or maybe 500,000 people. It doesn't matter. The point really is to be able to communicate back with this set of people. Now, if your database is only 40, 50 people, you can probably manage email sending just simply by sending them individual emails through your Google account. This would be a hackish way for you to manage your subscriber base. This may not be the most productive and most effective way of doing it, which is why I invite you to check out ConvertKit. ConvertKit is simple software. It has a $0 trial until I think the first 100 subscribers to your database, which allows you to be able to start building your email list for pretty much no money. And when your list size becomes bigger and you're able to sell more programs, it is only $29 a month, which means you can communicate with your audience as frequently as you want for only about $29 a month. So I invite you to check out ConvertKit, start with a $0 trial so you can get started with no money and eventually get to $29 a month. The last but very important tech piece of software that you're gonna need is something that you can build your online funnel on. An online funnel is simply a way to communicate with your audience once they have said yes to interact with you. When they have said yes to download a free PDF, a book, a video that you may have created to attract them to come into your business. One of the most popular platforms to be able to do that is called ClickFunnels. It's about $97 a month. Or you can sign up for their new competitor that is called DropFunnels. and that will cost you about 49 bucks a month. Now I know that may seem like a lot of technology pieces that are required to get started with your coaching business. And that is true, which is why you want to be mindful of what's the model you're going for and start with a model that is easier for you to set up. If the business gets difficult to set up, it can get frustrating. And when it gets frustrating, we tend to give up. I recommend you to go check out the pieces of software that I recommend in this video. They're easy to implement. The second category, and probably the most important category that is required to create a successful coaching business, is training. Most of us try to get started and try to make money fairly quickly. And yes, you can do that. There is nothing wrong with it if you're certain about how you're going to create impact with your students and your clients. But most of us who want to really create an impact are always curious on how they can do it better. And that is where training comes in. Even if you have had some form of training in the past, you always want to keep upgrading your skill. You can only go as far in your business as far you've gone in your own personal growth. I truly believe business is personal, which means if you want to grow your business, grow yourself. And I believe as a coach, you agree with me, which is why let's talk about training. Now, training can be done in many different ways. The easiest for anybody is to simply get a certification. A certification is a comprehensive training in a domain, which means if you do a certification, you will probably get end-to-end knowledge about everything that concerns you in that particular field. The only challenge, certifications can be very, very expensive. Usually a certification would cost anywhere between $4,500 to $18,000. At EverCoach, we create a certification at a fairly reasonable price. It costs about $2,500 and we'll link it up below. The enrollment is closed for this batch and will only open in 2021. But if you want to know more about what that certification looked like, you can click below to find out more. But that is the most comprehensive way for you to get started in your training. Another very powerful way for you to get started is to get a coach for yourself. A coach that will help you understand your material, may help you with your marketing, may help you with understanding how you really create results for somebody else, will cost you anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000. The cost of a coach is very variable. It is hard for me to give you a clear price because it would depend on what are you using this coach for, what is the experience of the coach, and what is the probability of the results that this coach can drive. If the results are powerful, the price of the coach shouldn't matter. You're going to make your money back when you start implementing what you've learned and worked on with the coach. Third, and the easiest way for you to get started in your training is to take an online course. At EverCoach, we specialize in courses that help coaches get better in their skills. You can find courses around executive coaching, leadership coaching, business coaching, life coaching, even holistic coaching on evercoach.com. You can get these complete courses anywhere from $350 to $800. These courses usually are 4 to 6 weeks long and give you a complete education on one methodology that you can then go out and use in your coaching practice. To learn more about these courses, simply go to evercoach.com/programs. Now, as you may have realized, that trainings can cost from the range of $300 all the way to $20,000. So what is it that you want to allocate as a budget for cost of training? I personally have a budget of $100,000 that I invest in myself every single year through coaches, courses, and certifications that elevate me as an individual. Now that is because I already have a very successful coaching practice, a very successful business, and hence it's easy for me to commit to that kind of cost in my personal education. I invite you to see what you can budget based on your existing financial health. Like I said, there are quality courses available all the way from $300 all the way to $20,000. How much you will be able to invest, what you want to invest in, would really depend on your personal budget. Now, the tools may already be sorted because most of us do already own a phone and a computer. And that are some of the most important tools that you're going to need to be able to start your coaching business. And so you're sorted with the tools section. But let's say you decide, hey, I want to create YouTube videos like this to attract the right audience. I want to make audio presentations or start a podcast. There are some costs associated to that. We recommend some very simple tools that you can get and get started immediately on your online presence. Here is the secret to great online presence. Most people think it's about the tools. The more expensive the camera, the more they are likely to get successful online. Well, that is just not true. Getting success online is a lot about your content. It's a lot about your storytelling. It's a lot about your presence with your audience, which means the camera you buy, the mic you use, are not really that important. Here's something for you. This video is getting recorded on a camera that it cost me about $700. It's one of the cheapest cameras that are available on the market, but it produces really high quality image. While I do have very expensive gear that cost me $5,000-$7,000 to put together, this camera often does as good a job for me to be able to create presentations and videos like this one. The name of this camera is Sony ZV-1, and with a tripod stand that may cost anywhere between $20 to $50, you are all set to start creating your amazing videos. If you are somebody who's more interested in starting a podcast and you feel your audio presence is what you really want to go for in your business model, I invite you to look at the Yeti podcast mics. Again, you could get the most expensive Shure mics that I use, which cost me $800, but you could use something that is much simpler, like a Yeti mic, which will create amazing quality audio presentations for you, and you could be starting your podcast fairly quickly. If you want to learn how to tell stories better on video, if you want to learn how to start a podcast, we're going to link up videos from this YouTube channel where you can learn from some of the best storytellers out in the world today. From Sarah Snow to Lisa Nichols to Sean Stevenson, who have created amazing platforms based on storytelling and podcasting abilities. And this brings me to the final category, talent. Talent is people that support you during the journey of creating your coaching business. You may not need any talent when you get started, or may decide that you want to do everything that is required for your business to come through. And that is absolutely okay. But again, like I said, a lot of times when we are trying to go at it alone, something that stops us may frustrate us. Or else if we have a team member, it makes it easy. Journey is always easier with friends and people that we can relate with, people who can share our pain and our pleasure, our joys and our struggles. This is where your team comes in. This is where your talent comes in. The first type of talent that most coaches need is an assistant. An assistant that simply helps with scheduling, making sure they're following up on clients, doing the grunt work that may be required to be able to start your coaching business. An assistant would cost you somewhere around $1,500 a month for about 10 to 15 hours of work every single week. That is enough work for somebody who is starting a new coaching business. Now, this price of talent changes based on where the talent is at. If you're hiring somebody in Los Angeles versus hiring somebody in India, would cost you two completely different price points. So while $1,500 a month may seem like a lot, just know that you can hire somebody in a different part of the world and you can probably get the same quality of service for a much cheaper price. If you are somebody who has decided to start their coaching business and rely more on online courses and online presence, you want to consider hiring somebody in the field of social media and content management. This person is somebody who works with you to draw out content from you, post it on social media, make sure there's engagement that's going on so you can continue to interact with your audience and continue to enroll your potential future clients. This social media curator and manager is going to cost you $1,500 a month. Again, it will depend on where you hired them, what their experience has been, but $1,500 a month is about the right price to get somebody to work with you on a consistent basis week after week. If you decide to take the path of creating videos, you may need a video editor. You're looking at about anywhere between $200 to $1,000 for a video edit. Again, it really depends on how the video is produced, how it needs to be edited, how many editing is it required, and based on that, you will end up making that expense. Now, last piece of talent that you may need is an accountant, somebody who sets up your company and makes sure that your accounts are in order. Again, when you get started, you probably don't need it. You can just use a software like Bench or something that will allow you to maintain your profit and loss statements. But if you are at a stage where you need somebody to legally set up your company and be able to do a monthly audit of what you're spending, what you're making, and to be more mindful about your finances, you're looking at an accountant that would cost anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000 a year. This is what the prices are usually in this side of the world. It will change based on the country that you are operating in. So those are the four broad categories that you want to consider. It's technology, training, tools, and talent. Now I've put together a simple Google spreadsheet where all of this that I talked about is listed. So simply go to that link below, as mentioned below in the notes of this video, and it will take you to a Google Sheet. Simply save a copy of that Google Sheet for yourself, so that way you can change the numbers, see what is right for you, what is not right for you, delete what is not applicable to you, and that way you will have a complete budget on how much would it cost for you to get started in your coaching business. But very often coaches get lost and confused because as they start building their practice, there are so many strategies that they can deploy that they don't know what's the right one. Very often when coaches start their journey, they start scrambling for as many playbooks as possible. And that is one of the biggest reasons why most coaches that do want to start their coaching practice don't end up starting their coaching practice. This is why I've put together a quick masterclass that you can watch and learn the exact steps that you need to implement to be able to get started in your coaching practice and get success faster. I'm going to link up that masterclass. It's a completely free masterclass. You can go ahead and join right now at the convenience of your time and learn each of these steps and see how to implement them so you can finally make that dream come true. Now, this was a long video and I'm sure you got a ton out of it. What I would really appreciate is that if you enjoyed this video is to go hit the like button. Leave me a comment as to what was the part that was really good for you and something that revealed something to you. Also, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. This is Ajit Navlakha and you're watching this on EverCoach.